Captain Ryan Hale had always believed that space travel was a matter of skill, courage, and careful planning. Yet nothing in his years as an Interstellar Alliance diplomat had prepared him for Valaris Prime. The planet hung in the blackness of space like a jewel, its oceans glowing faintly in colors humans could barely describe, its skies streaked with clouds that shimmered in silver and violet. From the moment Ryan's ship entered the atmosphere, he sensed that this was not a world where ordinary rules applied. He was met at the landing station by Valerian officials, tall and graceful beings whose skin glimmered faintly under the light, their eyes large and expressive. Though their faces were humanoid in shape, their elegance carried an otherworldly quality. Every movement deliberate, every gesture meaningful. Ryan could feel their scrutiny, a silent judgment of humanity's worth. "Captain Hale," a voice said, musical and calm, though threaded with authority. Ryan turned to see Ambassador Lyran, the chief negotiator of the Valerian Council. "We welcome you to Valaris Prime. Your presence is surprising, though not unwelcome." Ryan nodded, offering a polite smile. "Thank you. I am honored to be here. I hope our visit will strengthen the friendship between our worlds." Lyran's eyes narrowed ever so slightly. "Friendship is built on trust, Captain. And trust is earned." Ryan did not flinch. If anything, he straightened his posture. Humanity was often underestimated among alien civilizations. Valerians, with their telepathy and refined society, were especially skeptical. Ryan had heard stories of other diplomats failing simply because they could not convey human sincerity. But he was determined to show them that humans, while flawed, were capable of remarkable courage and ingenuity. The palace, where Ryan was soon escorted, rose like a crystal cathedral in the capital city. Its spires stretched into the violet clouds and the walls shimmered with a light that seemed alive. Inside, every surface reflected elegance beyond human imagination. Halls of translucent stone, floors that rippled faintly as if water ran beneath them, and corridors that curved with a grace that defied geometry. He was led to a grand chamber where the Valerian royal family would host him. And there, at the center of the room, stood Princess Seraphine, heir to the Valerian throne. She was even more beautiful than the holographic images that Ryan had been shown. Her long silver hair flowed like liquid light, and her violet eyes seemed to see far beyond the physical world. Her expression was serene, almost untouchable, until her gaze fell on him. Then it softened, curious, intrigued, and unexpectedly warm. "Welcome to Valaris Prime, Captain Hale," she said, her voice melodious. "I have heard much about humans. It is intriguing to finally meet one in person." Ryan bowed respectfully. "The honor is mine, Princess Seraphine. Your planet is more magnificent than words can describe." She smiled faintly. "Flattery, Captain, will not influence our council, but it is appreciated." The formalities continued, and Ryan found himself impressed not only by her beauty, but by her intelligence. She spoke with a grace that reflected centuries of tradition, yet her words hinted at curiosity, an eagerness to understand the human mind, the human heart. Ryan felt a small thrill of recognition. She was not like other Valerians, who often treated humans with detached caution. That night, after the formal dinner, Ryan retired to his chambers. He was tired but restless, aware that the upcoming negotiations were more than a diplomatic formality. They could shape the relationship between two worlds. And yet, he could not shake the feeling that something extraordinary was about to happen. He did not have long to wait. A sudden alarm echoed through the palace corridors. Ryan's communicator crackled. "Intruder alert. Royal protection needed." Before he could fully process the warning, a scream pierced the night. It was the scream of someone in immediate danger, urgent, panicked, and humanely fearful, even though it belonged to an alien. Ryan ran toward the sound. His training kicked in. Don't hesitate, act decisively, protect life. As he reached a balcony overlooking the central courtyard, he saw a group of masked assailants attempting to abduct Princess Seraphine. Their weapons glinted faintly, alien and lethal. She struggled but remained poised, refusing to panic. Ryan didn't stop to analyze. He dove from the balcony, landing with a roll that would have impressed any soldier. The assailants froze for a split second, surprised by the human's audacity. Ryan seized that moment, using his hands, his legs, and even his environment to disarm one attacker, then another. He moved with precision born of instinct, not arrogance, because hesitation meant death, not heroism. Seraphine watched, her violet eyes wide but calm. There was something about the human, his courage, his refusal to falter, that fascinated her. Most beings would have fled. Most humans would have hesitated. Ryan Hale acted without thought of glory or fear, a purity of purpose that made him exceptional. In moments, the attackers were subdued or fleeing. The courtyard was silent except for Ryan's heavy breathing and the princess's soft, measured claps. "Well," she said, stepping forward, "you certainly make humans appear remarkable." Ryan wiped sweat from his brow and offered a half-smile. "I do my best." "You risked your life for me," she said, voice tinged with wonder. "Most would not." Ryan shook his head. "It was not just for you. It was the right thing to do. Any life is worth protecting." For a moment, the world seemed to pause. Seraphine studied him, sensing the sincerity in his words, the courage in his actions, and perhaps something deeper, something that her people rarely felt from outsiders: empathy without calculation. Later, in her private chambers, Seraphine visited him. She had changed out of her ceremonial robes into something simpler, though still elegant.
"Captain Hale," she began softly, "you must understand."
"I have lived my entire life following rules, tradition, and duty. But tonight, I saw something different. Something human." Ryan nodded, unsure how to respond. He was trained in diplomacy, not flattery, but something in her tone told him this was no ordinary conversation. "Princess, I am no different from other humans. But perhaps we sometimes do what is right even when it is difficult." She smiled faintly, almost shyly. "Do you know, you have changed how I see everything. My people, my duties, even myself. And I do not fully understand it yet." Ryan could only bow slightly. "I am honored, Princess, that you would say such things to me." A silence fell between them, comfortable yet charged with unspoken meaning. Seraphine finally spoke again, her voice a whisper. "I wish I could understand more about your world, about what makes humans so alive." Ryan hesitated, then said carefully, "It is not perfection that makes us alive. It is our struggles, our choices, and our willingness to care, even when we risk everything. Perhaps that is what you saw tonight." She nodded slowly, as if committing his words to memory. "Perhaps. And perhaps I will see it more clearly in time." Outside, the palace remained serene, the soft glow of Valaris Prime's oceans reflecting in its walls. Inside, two beings, one human, one Valerian, shared a moment that would shape not only their lives but the future of two worlds. For Ryan Hale, the night had begun as a routine diplomatic visit. By dawn, it had become a defining event, a test of courage, of values, and of the remarkable strength of the human spirit. And for Princess Seraphine, it was the first glimpse of something she had never known she desired, a connection beyond duty, beyond expectation, beyond what her people dictated. She did not yet know what the future held. But she knew one thing: this human, flawed, brave, and unwavering, was unlike anyone she had ever met. And for Ryan Hale, nothing could have prepared him for the truth he was beginning to understand. Sometimes, the universe did not test skill or knowledge, but the human heart itself. The days after the attack on the royal palace felt surreal for Captain Ryan Hale. Valaris Prime had not only survived the threat, but had welcomed him as something more than just a human diplomat, almost as a hero. Yet, amidst the congratulations and cautious admiration, Ryan felt a quiet weight pressing on him. The Valerians, for all their elegance and poise, were not used to humans. Their telepathy made their judgments immediate and unavoidable. Every thought he had seemed to shimmer in the air around him, even if he did not intend it. Princess Seraphine, however, remained a mystery. Despite the formality of her duties, she found ways to spend time with him. They walked through the crystal gardens where plants shimmered with bioluminescent light and petals floated in slow, mesmerizing patterns. Seraphine spoke about Valerian traditions, the history of her people, and the delicate balance required to maintain their society. "You have no idea how much you've shaken their perceptions." "Captain," she said quietly one evening, brushing her fingers over a glowing flower, "humans are usually seen as reckless, emotional, and temporary, but you are different." Ryan shrugged, though he felt a faint heat rise to his cheeks. "I'm just a human, Princess. I do what I can." Seraphine turned to him, her eyes luminous in the dim light. You risked your life without thought of reward. That is rare even among my people. Most would have calculated the danger first. You acted because it was right. That is something I have never seen before. Ryan smiled faintly. Maybe it's what makes us human. We don't always calculate. Sometimes we feel, and when it matters, we act. Her lips curved into a faint smile, almost imperceptible. And what makes you feel, Captain Hale? I care about life, he replied simply. All life. And sometimes it's worth risking everything for someone else. Seraphine was silent for a moment, absorbing his words. She had studied humans for years through data, books, and distant observation, but nothing had prepared her for the emotional weight of encountering one in reality. Humans were impulsive, yes. Emotional, yes. But they were also capable of courage and kindness that transcended logic. That combination fascinated her, and frightened her because it challenged everything she had been taught about the universe. The following days were filled with diplomatic meetings. The Valerian Council wanted to solidify the alliance with Earth, yet their distrust of humanity lingered like a shadow over the negotiations. Ryan had to navigate delicate political terrain while remaining honest and empathetic, often relying on his instincts rather than his briefings. Seraphine observed him during these meetings, impressed by his ability to remain calm under pressure. While Valerians thought in calculated, almost mathematical ways, Ryan approached problems in an unorthodox manner. He trusted intuition, human creativity, and the ability to adapt. And time after time, it worked. During one late night in the palace library, Seraphine found Ryan studying old texts about Valerian history, trying to understand the roots of their culture. She entered quietly, holding a cup of glowing liquid the Valerians called Lumina tea. You read too much, she said softly, placing the cup beside him. You cannot learn a people only from books. Ryan looked up, smiling. Maybe not, but understanding where someone comes from helps me. Respect them, and respect is important. She sat beside him, her long hair falling over her shoulders like a river of silver. Humans respect differently. You do not calculate it or measure it. You simply offer it. That is something my people have forgotten. Their conversations became a ritual. They spoke of philosophy, emotion, art, and even humor. Ryan showed her human sketches and paintings, each imperfect yet alive with emotion. Seraphine, in turn, explained Valerian art, geometric, precise, beautiful, yet restrained by centuries of tradition. For her, the human works were chaotic and daring, yet they carried a spark she could not resist. One evening, as the twin moons of Valaris rose, casting silver light across the palace gardens, Seraphine turned to Ryan. I wish I could experience your world, she whispered, to see humans not as subjects of study but as living beings like you. Ryan felt a lump in his throat. One day, perhaps, if your people and mine can trust each other, maybe you will see it for yourself. She shook her head, a faint sigh escaping her. It is not simple. My duties, my people, they demand obedience, but you make me wonder if there is more than duty, more than expectation. You make me wonder if I can choose. Ryan was silent for a moment. He understood the weight of her words. In every galaxy, leadership carried responsibilities that often outweighed personal desires. Yet the human in him longed to say, choose me, choose freedom, choose love. But he remained careful, knowing that one wrong word could unravel delicate negotiations. Days later, a Valerian festival brought the city to life. Light cascaded from hovering lanterns, and music, soft, haunting, and beautiful, filled the streets. Seraphine invited Ryan to join her in a traditional dance, a rare honor. He stumbled at first, unfamiliar with the movements and rhythm. But Seraphine guided him gently, her hands brushing his, her eyes encouraging him. In that moment, Ryan felt a strange sense of belonging, stranger than any human city he had visited, yet comfortable in a way that defied logic. You are surprisingly adept, she whispered, smiling. Ryan chuckled, embarrassed. I guess humans learn by doing, and failing, and trying again. Seraphine laughed softly, the sound like wind chimes. Perhaps that is why your people survive in ways my people cannot imagine. You take risks, you fall, yet you continue. Their bond deepened, not merely admiration, but a tentative understanding. A bridge between two worlds built on respect and curiosity. Yet the reality of their differences remained. The council watched, the citizens whispered, and the weight of tradition pressed upon Seraphine's shoulders. One day she confided in Ryan in the private gardens. "I am torn, Captain. My heart says one thing, but my duty, it says another. I do not know how to reconcile them." Ryan reached for her hand, hesitating only briefly. "Sometimes, Princess, the heart is the compass we need. Rules and duty are important, yes, but without compassion and courage they are hollow." She withdrew slightly, eyes glistening. "You make it sound so simple. But my people, they would never understand," Ryan nodded. "Then we find understanding in each other. One day, perhaps, the world will follow." Their moments together were fleeting, often interrupted by protocol, guards, or council meetings. Yet each conversation, each gesture, each shared laugh or glance strengthened a bond that neither of them could ignore. Seraphine began to see humans differently, not reckless or primitive, but capable of bravery, creativity, and selfless action. Ryan, in turn, felt a profound admiration for Valerians, recognizing the beauty of their culture, their intelligence, and the weight of their responsibility. But even as trust and affection grew, shadows lingered. The attack on the palace was not an isolated incident. A rogue faction opposed to human presence still moved unseen, plotting disruption. Ryan knew that their bond, as personal as it had become, existed against a backdrop of political tension and potential danger. One night, Seraphine approached him quietly as he walked the palace terraces, gazing at the glowing horizon. "Captain Hale," she said softly, "do you believe love can survive when the worlds themselves are against it?" Ryan considered her words, feeling the depth of their truth. "I do," he replied carefully. "But love requires courage. The courage to face fear, opposition, and the unknown. And I believe we have that courage." Seraphine's eyes shimmered in the moonlight. "Then perhaps I will try, if only to understand what you have shown me." At that moment, the stars seemed closer, the glow of Valaris Prime brighter, and the distance between human and Valerian hearts shorter than ever. They stood side by side, two beings from entirely different worlds, bound by curiosity, courage, and the spark of something neither could fully name yet. The future remained uncertain. Danger lurked beyond the palace walls. The council's scrutiny never fully relaxed. Yet in that quiet moment, Seraphine felt something she had never known, a glimpse of freedom, a taste of choice, and the thrilling possibility that a human, flawed, brave, and persistent, could teach her a new way to see the universe. And for Ryan Hale, it became clear that the mission of diplomacy was no longer merely about treaties and negotiations. It was about connection, human connection, the ability to touch hearts across galaxies. And with Princess Seraphine, he had found a spark that could change everything. The morning sun rose over Valaris Prime, casting its shimmering light across the city. But peace was a fragile illusion. Captain Ryan Hale had barely finished breakfast when an urgent alert arrived from the Planetary Defense Network. "Captain Hale," a Valerian officer reported, her voice tight with concern, "multiple human supply vessels near the outer colonies have come under attack. We believe this is the work of the rogue faction." Ryan's jaw tightened. The rogue faction had been hinted at before, those who opposed human interaction with Valerians. But he had hoped their actions were isolated incidents, small skirmishes that could be ignored. Clearly they were now escalating. "We need a plan immediately," Ryan said, standing. "These people's lives are at stake." Princess Seraphine appeared at the doorway, her violet eyes sharp with determination. "Then I will join you," she said simply. "I cannot remain idle while my people or yours are in danger." Ryan hesitated. Valerian law prohibited royalty from entering combat zones, yet the conviction in her voice left him no choice. "If you come, you must follow my lead exactly. One wrong move, it could be catastrophic." Seraphine nodded. "I understand. And Captain, I trust you." The rescue mission was urgent. The human supply vessels were stranded in the asteroid belt orbiting Valaris Prime, vulnerable to rogue Valerian ships equipped with energy disruptors. Ryan quickly assembled a small strike team, combining humans trained in tactical operations and Valerian pilots loyal to the crown. As they approached the asteroid belt, the situation became clear. Rogue ships were systematically targeting each vessel, cutting off communications and threatening lives. Ryan's mind raced. The terrain of the asteroid field offered both danger and opportunity. He needed to act decisively. "Stick close to me," Ryan instructed his team. "We'll use the asteroids for cover, approach undetected, and disable their weapons before they can harm the supply ships. Seraphine, seated beside him in the lead fighter, observed in awe how human instinct guided every maneuver. Unlike Valerian pilots who relied heavily on telepathic coordination, Ryan made quick decisions based on observation, experience, and intuition. It was reckless by Valerian standards, yet effective. The first engagement began with a flash of energy as a rogue ship fired at a supply vessel. Ryan executed a sharp maneuver, his fighter weaving through the asteroids like a dancer. "Now, Seraphine," he shouted. Seraphine activated the fighter's energy dampeners, a new skill she had only practiced briefly. Their ship silently glided behind the rogue attacker, disabling its engines with precision. The pilot of the rogue vessel attempted evasive action, but Ryan anticipated every move. Within minutes, the first threat was neutralized. One by one, the rogue ships were subdued. Ryan's leadership and quick thinking saved countless human lives. Seraphine, despite initial fear, realized the truth of his words from days ago. Humans acted not from calculation alone, but from courage, empathy, and the willingness to risk everything for others. After the final engagement, the team regrouped near a damaged supply vessel. Ryan's eyes scanned the hull. "We need to bring everyone aboard quickly. There's still a chance more rogues are nearby." Seraphine moved among the stranded humans, her hands delicate but precise as she assisted in repairs and stabilized those injured in the attack. Her telepathy allowed her to sense their fear and pain, yet she did not hesitate, stepping fully into the role of rescuer. As the last human was safely aboard, a rogue Valerian ship appeared on their sensors. This one was larger, heavily armed, and commanded by a figure cloaked in darkness, someone Ryan recognized as a high-ranking rogue leader. "This one is dangerous," Ryan said, tightening his grip on the controls. "We must act together. Follow my lead, Princess. Trust me." Seraphine's hands tightened on her console. "I do. Lead and I will follow." The battle was intense. The rogue leader's ship fired powerful disruptor beams, tearing at the asteroid field. Ryan executed daring maneuvers, weaving through the debris, while Seraphine used her telepathy to anticipate enemy moves and guide the team's defensive strategies. Explosions lit the void as Ryan took precise shots, aiming for engines and weapon systems rather than life support. He wanted victory without unnecessary loss of life, an instinct that amazed Seraphine. Humans fought fiercely yet with conscience, balancing skill and morality in a way her people rarely did. Finally, Ryan found an opening. With a sharp series of commands, the rogue leader's ship was immobilized against a massive asteroid. The rogue pilot attempted one last desperate attack, but Ryan predicted the trajectory and neutralized the threat. The asteroid field fell silent once more, the danger contained. Exhausted but relieved, the team returned to Valeris Prime. The rescued humans were safe, and the rogue faction's immediate threat had been halted. Seraphine, however, could not stop thinking about what she had witnessed. "You humans," she whispered as they descended toward the city. "You are fearless, reckless, and astonishing. I have never seen such courage, such empathy in action." Ryan smiled faintly, though his eyes were weary. "It's not just courage, Princess. It's responsibility. We take risks because lives matter. Every life, human or otherwise, is worth the danger." Seraphine nodded, absorbing his words. "And yet, you risked your own. For me, for others, without hesitation. That is something my people seldom do." When they landed, the palace was buzzing with reports of their success. The council, initially skeptical, could not deny the bravery of the human captain or the skill and courage of their own princess. For the first time, Seraphine felt a profound sense of pride, not just in herself but in what humans could achieve when guided by heart as well as mind. But the celebration was short-lived. As she walked beside Ryan through the palace corridors, she sensed unease among the counselors. Whispers of rebellion and political backlash were inevitable. Her actions, joining Ryan in the field defying protocol, would be questioned. She could feel it in their scrutiny, heavy and unyielding. Ryan noticed her tension. "The council may be strict," he said quietly, "but don't let them diminish what you did today. You saved lives. You did the right thing." Seraphine looked at him, her eyes reflecting the moonlight through the palace windows. "And you showed me what it truly means to be human. Bravery, sacrifice, compassion. I do not know how to thank you. You already have, Ryan said softly. By being who you are, that is enough. Later, Seraphine stood on the palace balcony, gazing at the stars above. Her mind was a whirlwind of thought and feeling. She had witnessed human courage firsthand, faced danger beside a human, and come to understand that connection was possible even across the vast gulf of species and culture. Yet the weight of her duties, the expectations of her people, and the disapproval of the council threatened to cloud the clarity she felt with Ryan. For Ryan, the events of the day reinforced something he had long believed. Humans could rise to any challenge, not because they were perfect, but because they were resilient, adaptable, and guided by heart as well as reason. And in Princess Seraphine he saw something equally remarkable, a being who, despite centuries of tradition and expectation, was willing to learn, to empathize, and perhaps even to choose differently. As night fell, the city of Velaris Prime shimmered in serene beauty, oblivious to the shadows that still lingered. But for Ryan and Seraphine, the universe had shifted. They had faced danger together, learned to trust each other implicitly, and discovered a connection that transcended species, culture, and expectation. Yet they both knew the threat was far from over. The rogue faction remained plotting in secrecy. The council would not forget Seraphine's defiance, and their growing bond, fragile, beautiful, and dangerous, would soon be tested in ways neither of them could yet imagine. But for now, in the quiet moments after the chaos, they allowed themselves a rare reprieve. Ryan Hale and Princess Seraphine, human and Valerian, 2 worlds apart, stood side by side not as diplomat and princess, but as allies, friends, and perhaps in time, something more. The stars above Velaris Prime sparkled, distant yet familiar, reminding them that the universe was vast, full of challenges but also full of possibility, and for the first time both of them felt that together they might face anything. The celebrations following the rescue mission had barely ended when the reality of consequences descended upon Princess Seraphine. Her defiance of protocol, joining Captain Ryan Hale in the dangerous asteroid mission, had not gone unnoticed. Whispers in the palace corridors grew louder, and the council's scrutiny was sharp and unrelenting. Seraphine walked through the grand hallways, her posture regal, yet her heart felt heavy. She had acted with courage, choosing to protect lives, yet she knew the council would see her actions as reckless, even dangerous. Their approval meant her authority, her position, and the future of her people. Captain Ryan, meanwhile, remained by her side, not as a diplomat, but as an ally and friend. His presence comforted her, a reminder that the human capacity for courage and loyalty extended beyond words. Yet even he could not shield her from the weight of Valerian tradition. The council convened in the Hall of Crystals, a chamber of towering translucent spires that refracted light in dazzling patterns. Seraphine stood at the center, facing her elders, each more imposing than the last. Their expressions were cold, calculated, and devoid of emotion, a reflection of centuries of disciplined governance. Princess Seraphine, one counselor began, voice sharp like breaking glass. Your actions during the recent crisis were commendable in outcome, but reckless in judgment. You violated protocol, disregarded counsel, and endangered not only yourself but the reputation of the crown. Seraphine's eyes met his steadily. I acted to protect life. That is the duty of every leader, even when it conflicts with tradition. If my people are alive because of my choice, how can my actions be wrong? A murmur rippled through the chamber. Some counselors leaned forward, intrigued by her defiance. Others bristled at her audacity. Another counselor spoke, voice heavier. Your actions suggest favoritism toward the human Captain Hale. This is unacceptable. The council fears undue influence over the crown. Your judgment appears compromised. Seraphine's jaw tightened. She had anticipated their reaction, but it did little to soften the sting. I do not act from favoritism, she said calmly. I act from principle. Compassion is not weakness, nor is courage a crime. Humanity has shown my people qualities we have long forgotten: empathy, bravery, and the willingness to protect life at any cost. Is that not worthy of respect? The chamber fell silent. Her words echoed in the crystalline walls, a challenge to centuries of tradition. Ryan, standing beside her, felt a mixture of pride and concern. Pride in her courage, concern for the consequences that were inevitable. The council deliberated late into the evening. Seraphine remained composed, though her mind raced. She had chosen to act in the moment of crisis, trusting instinct and heart over rules. Now she faced the harsh reality that her choices carried weight beyond herself. Finally, the council returned. Their decision was harsh. Seraphine would be stripped of her royal title and placed under house arrest, a symbolic act meant to remind her and others that tradition must never be ignored. The words hit her like a physical blow. Yet in that moment she felt no fear. Instead, a quiet resolve settled within her. She had acted according to her principles and she would not regret it. Captain Ryan stepped forward, voice calm yet firm. "Princess, you have done what is right. Your courage and integrity have saved countless lives. Do not let them make you doubt your choices." Seraphine nodded, a faint smile crossing her face. "Thank you, Ryan. You have shown me that bravery is not limited to a species, and that even a single choice can change many lives." That night, as she prepared to leave the palace, Seraphine faced another decision, one that weighed more heavily on her heart than exile. Ryan had offered her sanctuary on Earth, a chance to live freely, away from the rigid expectations of her people. Yet the thought of leaving Velaris Prime, her family, and her people behind was wrenching. She loved her world, its beauty, its culture, and the responsibility she carried as its future leader. Could she abandon all that for the promise of personal freedom, even alongside someone she had come to care for deeply? She walked to the palace balcony, staring at the twin moons that glowed over the oceanic plains. The cool night air brushed against her skin, and the stars stretched endlessly above. She could feel Ryan's presence behind her, steady and reassuring, yet she did not turn. "I cannot simply leave," she whispered, more to herself than to him. "My people need me. But my heart longs for something I cannot ignore." Ryan spoke softly, understanding her inner turmoil. "Seraphine, sometimes doing the right thing for others and for oneself are not the same. Your people need you, but they also need a leader who is brave enough to follow their heart." "You can be both," she sighed, a mixture of frustration and hope. "I fear that the council will never accept a ruler who defies tradition in the way I have." "Then you will not lead for them," Ryan said gently. "You will lead for what is right, and you are not alone. You have me and the people you have saved and the future you will inspire." Seraphine turned to him at last, her violet eyes meeting his. For a moment, the weight of duty and the pull of desire clashed violently in her chest. Yet she felt a strange calm settle over her, a sense that she had discovered something greater than titles, protocol, or expectation. She had discovered the possibility of choice. "I wish," she said quietly, her voice trembling. "I wish I could marry someone like you, human, but your world deserves you more than I do." Ryan's heart ached at her words. He wanted to tell her that the worlds mattered less than the bond they shared, that love could bridge any distance. Yet he remained silent, recognizing the truth in her caution. The future of two civilizations was at stake, and their personal desires could not be the cause of conflict. The next morning, as Seraphine prepared to leave the palace under the supervision of the council, Ryan walked beside her through the grand halls. They passed the murals of ancient Valerian heroes, their eyes carved into stone seeming to watch them with timeless judgment. "You have changed your people already," Ryan said. "Even in exile, your courage will be remembered. You have shown them that empathy, action, and heart are not weaknesses." Seraphine nodded, holding back tears. "I hope you are right. My people must learn to value life as I have come to value it." Before stepping out into the waiting transport to Earth, she turned to Ryan. "Perhaps in another time, another place, we could have something more." Ryan offered a gentle smile. "Perhaps. But even now you have given me something extraordinary, the chance to see courage and compassion in a way I never expected. That is enough for me." As she departed, the palace seemed quieter, almost mournful. Seraphine's absence left a void, yet her influence lingered in the hearts of those she had inspired. And for Ryan, the experience reinforced a simple truth. Humanity's greatest strength was not technology, strategy, or intelligence. It was courage, empathy, and the ability to act for the good of others. Even in the face of personal loss, days turned into weeks. Seraphine adapted to her new life on Earth, though she missed Velaris Prime and the lessons of her home. She studied human culture, learned their customs, and gradually found a sense of belonging in the warmth and imperfection of Earth's people. Ryan continued his diplomatic work, bridging relations between humans and Valerians. He wrote letters to Seraphine, each filled with news of both worlds, reminders of their shared ideals and reflections on courage, empathy, and hope. Though separated by distance, their bond deepened, rooted not in romance alone, but in mutual respect, admiration, and the shared understanding of what it meant to act with integrity. Back on Valeris Prime, stories of Seraphine's bravery circulated. Children whispered of the princess who defied the council to save lives, and citizens began to question the rigidity of tradition. Small seeds of change had been planted, inspired by one courageous princess and one human who showed her the power of heart over protocol. Even in exile, Seraphine became a symbol, not of rebellion but of possibility. She represented the idea that courage and compassion could bridge worlds, that action could inspire change, and that even across galaxies, choices mattered. And though she could not openly be with Ryan, the connection they shared endured, an invisible thread that tied two hearts across space. The world and the universe beyond seemed to recognize it. Two beings from entirely different worlds had shown that courage, empathy, and the willingness to act for what was right could overcome even the deepest divides. As she looked at the stars from her new home on Earth, Seraphine whispered softly, more to herself than anyone else, "Perhaps one day, the worlds will be ready, and perhaps we will meet again without fear, without limits, and with hearts free to choose." And somewhere across the vastness of space, Captain Ryan Hale looked at Valeris Prime shining in the night sky, and whispered the same words, "Perhaps one day." Princess, the future remained uncertain. Challenges awaited both humans and Valerians. But one truth had become undeniable. Courage, integrity, and heart could spark change in ways that even the most rigid traditions could not suppress. And through it all, the bond between a human and a Valerian princess had left an indelible mark, proof that hope, bravery, and understanding could transcend worlds. Years had passed since Princess Seraphine left Valeris Prime to live on Earth. The memories of her home planet, its shimmering oceans and crystalline spires, never faded. Yet she had learned to find beauty and purpose in her new surroundings. She studied human culture deeply, learning their arts, language, and history. She discovered humor, imperfection, and warmth, things she had admired in humans during her first encounters but now truly understood. Captain Ryan Hale continued his work as a diplomat and strategist, building bridges between humanity and other civilizations. The events on Valeris Prime, particularly his partnership with Seraphine, had made him legendary among the Interstellar Alliance. His courage, decisiveness, and empathy inspired others to act boldly, even in the face of danger. Despite the distance, the bond between Ryan and Seraphine remained unbroken. Letters and communications traveled across the stars, carrying their thoughts, hopes, and dreams. Each message reminded them of their shared experience: the asteroid mission, the Palace Council, the quiet nights under Valeris Prime's twin moons, and strengthened their understanding that connection could exist across worlds. Back on Valeris Prime, change had quietly taken root. The Council had initially resisted, insisting that tradition must always take precedence over personal action. But the story of the princess who risked everything to protect life could not be erased. Children told the tale with awe. Citizens debated its meaning, and a small but growing movement emerged among reformists who believed that empathy and courage should guide leadership as much as protocol. One day, a special invitation arrived at Earth from Valeris Prime. A delegation of humans and Valerians would attend a new interstellar academy, established to train future leaders from both worlds. The academy represented a symbol of hope, a place where cooperation, understanding, and respect could be nurtured, where the mistakes and triumphs of the past could inspire a new generation. Seraphine stepped onto the transport shuttle, her heart racing with anticipation. She looked at the stars, her mind filled with memories of Ryan, of Valeris Prime, and of the long journey that had brought her here. She knew that the path forward would not be easy, but she also knew that courage, integrity, and compassion would guide her. Ryan awaited her at the Academy's landing platform. His uniform marked his role as ambassador and advisor, but his eyes carried the warmth and humanity that Seraphine had come to trust. The moment she saw him, a quiet smile spread across her face. "You made it," Ryan said, offering his hand. "I always make it when hope guides me," Seraphine replied, taking his hand gently. Their connection, though complicated by distance and duty, felt as strong as ever. The academy itself was a marvel of collaboration. Students from Valaris Prime and Earth studied together, exchanging ideas and learning from each other. Classrooms overlooked gardens where terrestrial and alien flora intertwined, while laboratories and training arenas provided spaces to experiment, create, and practice leadership. Seraphine walked through the halls, observing young Valerians struggling to adapt to human ways, humans grappling with Valerian logic, and yet all learning, adapting, and growing together. She smiled, realizing that this was exactly what she and Ryan had fought to inspire, a world where understanding could thrive, and where courage and empathy guided action. During the opening ceremony, Seraphine was invited to speak. She stepped onto the platform, her presence commanding yet approachable. The audience, a mix of Valerians and humans, waited in silence. "My friends," she began, her voice steady, "we live in a universe filled with differences in culture, thought, and tradition. But we also share something far greater, the capacity for courage, empathy, and the desire to protect life. When Captain Ryan Hale came to Valaris Prime years ago, he showed me the true meaning of these qualities. And in turn, our collaboration has shown that when we act together, across worlds, we can achieve greatness that no one could imagine alone." The students listened intently, inspired not only by her words but by the story of bravery and trust that they represented. Seraphine continued, "Leadership is not only about following rules or upholding tradition. It is about acting with heart, understanding, and courage, even when the path is uncertain. We honor the past, yes, but we also create the future, and together, humans and Valerians, we will build a legacy of hope, friendship, and unity." Applause filled the hall, echoing through the crystalline architecture. Seraphine felt a swell of pride, not personal pride, but pride in what could be achieved when empathy and courage guided action. After the ceremony, she and Ryan walked through the gardens, now filled with students practicing both human and Valerian arts. Ryan looked at her, a smile touching his eyes. "You've changed everything, Seraphine. Not just here, but back on Valaris Prime. Your courage has inspired countless others." "And you, Ryan," she replied softly, "taught me the meaning of action, of bravery, and of heart. I would not be who I am today without you." Their hands brushed briefly, a simple gesture, yet one that carried the weight of years of trust, courage, and unspoken connection. Over the coming weeks, the academy became a symbol of unity. Students worked together on projects that combined human creativity with Valerian precision, creating technologies and solutions neither could achieve alone. They trained in diplomacy, science, and exploration, learning to value both action and empathy. Meanwhile, Seraphine and Ryan continued their correspondence with the Valerian Council. Slowly, the rigid attitudes began to shift. Stories of her courage, paired with the success of collaborative initiatives, convinced even the most traditional counselors that empathy and action could guide leadership without weakening authority. One evening, as the academy quieted and the students returned to their quarters, Seraphine and Ryan walked to a terrace overlooking the city. The twin moons of Valaris Prime rose in the distance, their reflection shimmering across the ocean plains below. "Do you ever think," Seraphine asked softly, "that we could have been together? If things were different?" Ryan looked at her, his expression gentle. "Perhaps in another life, Princess. But even now we are together in the ways that matter. We've built something that will outlast us, something that will change the universe." Seraphine nodded, a faint smile crossing her lips. "Yes, that is more than enough." Years passed and the academy thrived. Students graduated, taking positions of influence across both worlds. Humans and Valerians collaborated on exploration missions, scientific breakthroughs, and diplomatic initiatives. The story of Ryan Hale and Princess Seraphine became legendary, not as a tale of romance alone, but as a testament to courage, empathy, and the enduring power of connection across worlds. Occasionally, Seraphine received a message from Ryan. The words were simple, yet carried the depth of their shared experience. Reports of missions, observations of diplomacy, reminders of the lessons they had taught each other, and every time she read them she felt the same spark, the same reminder that courage and heart could bridge even the vastest distance. On Valaris Prime, A new generation of leaders emerged, both human and Valerian, shaped by the example of two beings who had dared to act with integrity, empathy, and courage. The rogue factions had been quelled, distrust had given way to collaboration, and hope had taken root in hearts across galaxies. The final years of Seraphine's life on Earth were filled with reflection and purpose. She knew that love, while complicated by duty and circumstance, could exist in many forms, through mentorship, guidance, friendship, and shared ideals. She had found that with Ryan in their bond of trust and respect, and in a quiet moment one night, as she gazed at the stars, she whispered softly, knowing that somewhere across the void Ryan could hear her in spirit. Perhaps one day, in another time, we will meet again. Far above, Valeris Prime glimmered, and the Academy's lights flickered across the surface like a constellation of hope. Ryan, gazing toward Earth, whispered the same words into the night. Perhaps one day, Princess. The universe was vast, filled with challenges, dangers, and uncertainty. Yet one truth remained undeniable. Courage, empathy, and integrity could transcend worlds, defy expectation, and inspire generations. And the story of a human and a Valerian princess, a story of bravery, choice, and heart, would continue to echo across the stars for all time. The legacy of Ryan Hale and Princess Seraphine was not only a tale of personal connection, but a symbol of what humanity could achieve. A bridge across worlds, a spark of hope, and the enduring proof that even in the vastness of space, the heart could guide the future. And so, the stars above twinkled with possibility. Two hearts connected across galaxies, and a universe reminded that courage, compassion, and understanding would always light the way.